Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. Today we want to begin with an update on Oklahoma's winter wheat crop, and we're joined by Jeff Edwards, our small grains extension specialist. And Jeff, let's just begin with an overview of how things are looking.
Well, right now we're in pretty good shape. We're midway through winter. In most areas of the state we have some soil moisture. The wheat crop is fairly well established. It tillered out fairly well last fall. So we're not in too bad a shape. The wheat crop isn't using much moisture this time of year, so we still need some rainfall to keep us going through the winter. The critical thing will be how our rainfall happens in March and April. We don't have much of a reserve, so we have enough to keep us going, but we're living paycheck to paycheck. We're going to need some really good rainfall in early spring to keep us going and to recharge the soil.
And of course, we'll all keep our fingers crossed for that. In terms of management advice this time of year, what kinds of things are producers thinking about?
Well, hopefully many of our producers have already started top dressing. In order for top dress nitrogen to be most effective, it needs to be into the rooting zone by the time the wheat is jointing or is at about growth stage 6. So when you have unpredictable rainfall as we do, you have to get started fairly early. And when you have 5.5 million acres to cover, you have to get started early. So we should be top dressing our wheat. We've had a stretch of warm weather. If we get another stretch of warm weather where we have about a week where daytime temperatures are up around 50 or so, that might create a window where we could do some herbicide applications and hopefully take out some more of those winter annual weeds. The other thing that we need to do is continue monitoring for insects in our crop.
Now, are you seeing any insects this time of year?
Well, we've seen a few aphids here and there, but the main insect that I've heard reports on is winter grain mite. And winter grain mite, typically they don't like the sun, so if you want to scout for them, you go out early in the day or in the evening or on cloudy days such as today, rake back some residue and you can find them there on the soil surface. The thing about winter grain mites is that it's tough to establish a threshold. If you're grazing the field, I would just go ahead and leave them out there because the cattle are eating those as well. If you are in a non-grazed field, then you need to take a close look and see if they're actually injuring the crop. So what we're going to look for is damage to the crop plus about an average of say 10 winter grain mites per plant. If you reach that threshold, then you might consider treating with an insecticide, and we have several insecticides available that are pretty effective on winter grain mite.
Okay, so a few options there. Meantime, we'll continue to hope for more rain at the right time. Thanks a lot, Jeff Edwards, our small grains extension specialist.
Hi, I'm Al Sutherland with your Mesonet weather report. This has been a week of contrasts. On Monday of this week, a lot of us saw charred areas where Sunday's grass fires had swept across the land. A burning index map from 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon highlights why wildfires popped up across Oklahoma. The bright orange, red, and burgundy colored areas indicated high fire danger over the majority of the state on Sunday. The burning index value is not only an index of fire danger. Dividing the burning index value by 10 gives an estimate of flame height at the head of the fire. The bright red areas with burning index values between 80 and 109 had an estimated flame height in the 8 to 11 foot range. Monday at 3 p.m. the burning index was much lower. No bright red areas were on the map, and most of the state was colored yellow. Yellow burning index values fall into the 20 to 29 index range. Medicine Park gives us a look at how important the wind can be in driving up fire danger. If we compare the air temperature from Sunday and Monday at 4 p.m., both days peaked out close to 70 degrees. The red solid fill. Relative humidities were almost the same, 13% on Sunday and 12% on Monday. The big difference between Sunday and Monday at Medicine Park was the wind. The light blue fill shows wind gusts on Sunday afternoon were 30 to 35 miles per hour. Monday afternoon, wind gusts were 10 to 15 miles per hour. Sunday, we had red flag fire warnings issued by both the Norman and Tulsa National Weather Service offices. Monday conditions were much milder with no fire warnings. To determine when to pull cattle off of wheat, growers check to find out when first hollow stem occurs. The Mesonet First Hollow Stem Advisor shows that even for early first hollow stem varieties, we have not yet gained enough soil heat units to check wheat stems. Projected soil heat unit accumulation by Wednesday, January 28th, indicates that wheat in fields near Newport will need to be checked for first hollow stem. The projection for February 4th shows more areas along the Red River that will be far enough along to check. The outlooks for February point to an increased chance of below normal temperatures across southern Oklahoma for the month, the blue-colored areas. For the rest of the state, there's no trend indicated. The outlook for precipitation in February, we have an increased chance of being above average for rainfall for almost the whole state. Unfortunately, that chance of above average precipitation in February is not considered enough to ease the drought we are in. The drought outlook through the end of April projects that our drought conditions will persist or intensify as we warm up with spring weather. We hope enough moisture comes our way to prompt changes in that drought outlook. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Mesonet Weather Report.
We want to talk now about the state of the U.S. and Oklahoma economies with our ag economist, Larry Sanders. And Larry, we've heard a lot of good news lately about the overall economy, but give us an idea of what that growth picture really looks like.
You know, it's been remarkable. We could point fingers all day long to blame somebody or give them credit, but the fact of the matter is America is a strong, resilient economy, and the states within the U.S. are in the same boat. And we've seen the consumers come back. They usually account for 2/3 to 3/4 of the market, and they are back big time, spending money, wanting new things, wanting to replace items they haven't had the money to replace in a while. So we're at that 3% plus or minus a little bit growth rate, and we're probably going to be there for much of this year.
So we've seen some moderate growth, but then we've also seen record growth in certain areas, right?
That's right. We are going gangbusters with exports. We're going gangbusters with energy. We are back in being competitive in many sectors of the U.S. economy, and so much so that foreign companies are looking at coming here again, and U.S. companies that had been going overseas to find a good deal for labor are finding reasons to stay here in the United States.
Are we seeing some of that overall in Oklahoma as well?
Well, we had Oklahoma's economy tends to lead the U.S. economy, so we were getting better earlier, and part of that was because we had an energy base and an agricultural base. Over the last year or so, that's kind of tailed off, and we're not growing quite as fast as the rest of the economy right now, and how because of the reduction in crop prices and the mixed market in oil and gas. There's a little bit of hesitancy now there on the part of some people to continue the expansion here in the state.
In terms of the economic picture, how does it look for jobs?
Well, we are at a new low, 5.6% with the latest numbers. That is below the average since 1948. So we are on the downhill side of that, doing much better. And again, it's reflective of just how well we've done, because we were up over 10% unemployment just a few years ago. And it doesn't matter who you want to blame or give credit to. The economy has proven just how resilient it can be, and we'll continue probably around that 5% number for much of the year. I doubt that we'll see 4% this year, but it's possible.
In terms of interest rates, we've enjoyed some remarkably low numbers the last few years. How is that going to look moving forward?
Well, it's been largely thanks to that institution called the Federal Reserve, and they decided to buy bonds and keep interest rates down at the floor close to zero, sometimes even negative from that. And it's been a real positive thing for folks who need capital to invest, like farmers to expand their operation, or agribusinesses and so forth, people who want to build homes. The Fed has announced that they are no longer going to sustain that, and probably within 6 months we're going to see them begin to start selling some of those bonds, and when that happens we'll begin to see interest rates creep up a bit. It's not going to be rapid, it's not going to be overnight, but as you get into the middle of the year, if you're thinking about investing and needing capital, you probably want to get in to see your banker sooner rather than later.
And then in terms of other potential concerns, what are you keeping an eye on?
Well, there's the world economy. China and Europe may be deciding to backtrack a bit and slow down. China has already dropped below double-digit growth, and they're slowing somewhat. So that's one concern. The question of whether or not the changes in energy prices are going to have a positive or adverse effect on the global economy is going to be an open question. Here in Oklahoma, we are always tied to that, and so we'll maybe talk about that at some other time. You know, and it's a mixed message in agriculture with lower crop prices, but cattle prices continuing to go up, and so it kind of depends on where you're standing right now.
In terms of financial management, given the things that you've talked about, what kind of advice would you have in terms of investing? We always end up here saying risk management. Those are the two most important words for most farmers and ranchers today and agribusiness managers. It's essential that you look at whether or not it's important to diversify your portfolio. So, you know, how many different kind of crops do you have? Are you in crops and livestock? And sometimes that's a positive and sometimes it's not. You want to make sure that your banker's going to be there for you later in the year when interest rates start going up. And most farms get most of their income from off the farm now. It doesn't come from on-farm sales for most farms. So you're going to want to be looking at making sure you're getting a piece of the action as we see unemployment continue to improve and we see wages possibly begin to come up. Okay, Larry, thank you.
As we approach this spring's calving season, I think it's a good idea to put together what I call a calving kit. All the equipment that we're going to need in the situation where we first find that first 2-year-old heifer that needs some help this spring. Part of that calving kit, I think, should be a calving protocol, a plan, if you will, for your family, neighbors, hired hands that might be around that will be helping when a particular cow or heifer needs some assistance. On that protocol, I think it's very, very important that we have phone numbers for the large animal veterinarian in our area, perhaps his cell phone number, numbers of relatives and neighbors that might be willing to help us during the calving season. As I put together my calving kit, I'm going to start with a plastic bucket or perhaps even a stainless steel pail, something that I can put all of these important pieces of equipment in one spot. And I'm going to locate that bucket in an area that everyone in the family knows where it is and can reach it. In the bucket, of course, we're going to put our obstetrical chains. And I like to use chains rather than straps because we can get those things cleaned and disinfected, and we want to do that in between each time that we use them. And of course, those chains need the handles, so make sure you've got those located and have them in your calving kit. Obstetrical sleeves, plastic disposable sleeves, are very, very handy so that you can try to keep yourself as well as the cow from getting infected. making sure that as you use these things each time when you're helping a cow or heifer, that you replenish that supply so that you're ready the next time is very, very important. Have a bottle of the tincture of iodine. This is what's going to be necessary to dip the navel of that baby calf and spread around the navel area so that he has a less likely chance of getting an infection due to that navel opening. A lubricant is always important whenever you're working with a cow or a heifer. In the case of delivering the calf, it's the same situation with artificial insemination or preg checking. You can buy commercial lubricants, but quite frankly, one that works just as well is a non-detergent dish soap. You can buy these at any of the local grocery stores. That bottle cost me less than $2 and will go a long ways towards getting us through this calving season as a lubricant. It'll really work well. And of course, you probably want to include several old towels, bath towels that have already been used up around the house. And if your spouse doesn't like that particular idea, go ahead and get a roll of paper towels and stick in so that you can clean that area around the back end of the cow or the heifer before you start to do the examination. Reduce the likelihood of introducing some pathogens into her reproductive tract. Some simple things that you probably want to also keep in mind is to have a flashlight included in your calving kit. A good one that you can find that cow or heifer out in the lot that's down in the throes of labor, and because you're probably going to do quite a little bit of this at night. And of course, spare batteries are very, very important, because you don't want to go out there at 2 a.m. and find out that the batteries are getting weak, and you have to go back to the house to try to locate some new batteries in order to go and search for that cow or heifer that needs your help. Last on our list is something that one of the popular press magazines last year called one of the 6 most important items to include in their calving kit for ranchers all across America. And that was a publication that we wrote here at Oklahoma State University called Calving Time Management for Beef Cows and Heifers. And everyone in your operation should review it before the calving season begins. I think if you'll do that, you can help improve the chances of saving more calves this spring and helping that bottom line as we take those valuable calves to town the following fall. Now, you can go to the SUNUP website, that's sunup.okstate.edu, look under show links, and you'll find the link to download this very important document. Well, I hope this gives you some idea of what I might include in a calving kit, and that way that you'll be ready for this upcoming calving season.
We want to talk now about food safety training for small farms and businesses in Oklahoma with Chuck Willoughby, who's a manager here at the Food and Ag Product Center. And Chuck, let's talk about these training sessions and what they involve and who they're geared toward.
Yes, Lyndall, thank you. This small farm food safety program that we're running is the 3rd year in a series that we've conducted with the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture. We're targeting this year, a little different than the previous 2 years, a little more emphasis in the produce industry. What we had learned 3 years ago when we first targeted with small dairy, small egg, and small feed manufacturers is that there was a great interest from the produce side. And with the Food Safety Modernization Act having a lot of emphasis on fruit and vegetable growing, we felt, well, we really got to change the format just a little bit and add more information about it. So we're including information like good agricultural practices and how the Global Food Safety Initiative schemes work into that. And so it'll be a really much more interesting, a lot more information than in the last 2 years. So even if someone went in the last 2 years, they ought to consider coming again. Some new ideas introduced. Talk about the paperwork part of this. That's really the business side of it, but it's pretty critical, especially given new rules. Yes, and of course our producers in Oklahoma, they are already food safety minded. No one wants to get anybody sick. But we say in food safety, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And so we want to emphasize good record keeping and also preventative measures. What can you do to prevent something from happening? If you're writing things down, you're more likely to see where there could be something that could come up later on down the line. So good record keeping will be a big part of it, as well as preventative controls.
And all of this is designed to be covered in one day?
Yes, yeah, one day. We have, it's a general overview in some regards. There'll be breakout sessions so they can actually kind of practice what they're learning as they go and then apply that when they get back to the farm or to the small processing business. And throughout that day, either they'll have access to us, they can have access to us after the training, as well as the Oklahoma Department of Ag officials. And then we have subsequent training we offer at the center that can, if they really feel like they need some HACCP training or global food safety training, then come to those workshops.
And the cost is pretty affordable for what all you get, it sounds like.
You bet. Well, because of the grant that the Department of Ag got, we're able to keep this really affordable. It's $25 for the day, which provides lunch and refreshments as well as the training materials. So it's a really good deal.
And they're designed to reach people in different parts of the state.
Yes, we'll have 4 different dates and locations around the state. Our first one will be February 5th at Mid-America Technology at Wayne, Oklahoma, south of Oklahoma City. I will mention with Oklahoma weather the way it is, we did block out February 12th as well as a snow date. But you can go to our website and visit the workshop page to see when the other dates and locations are around the state.
Okay, Chuck, thank you very much. And for more information on the food safety training sessions, we've set up a link at sunup.okstate.edu.
Since July, the price of the dollar has been on the rise, and Kim, that's been affecting the price of wheat.
If you look at the dollar index, it was at 80 relative to other currencies in July. It's up to about 93.6. That's about a 17% increase. Now, if you look at the cost of wheat to our foreign buyers, it's increased that cost about $1. That transfers probably into around 70-cent lower wheat price. If you look at corn, it's 70 cents higher to our buyers. That's probably 50 cents on our corn market. And if you look at canola, the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, it's probably lowered our canola price by about $1.15.
Okay, let's look out here. The wheat is coming out of the ground. We're not out of the drought yet. Is that cause for concern with the price of wheat?
Well, that drought has been increasing across Oklahoma and parts of Oklahoma. The drought is intensifying. I think that's concern. The condition is probably a little less than last year, but we're just going to need timely rains from here on out.
Okay, if producers are thinking about KC contract prices, is that something they should look at right now?
Well, you look at those contract prices, I think that's positive price-wise. You look at the March contract, it's $5.73 in that area. December's up to $6.08. There's about an 8-cent spread between March and July. Normally that's inverted. In other words, July would be less than March. So I think that's positive for wheat prices if you look at those KC contracts.
Okay, now in the past, wheat has kind of followed along the price of corn. Are we still doing that right now?
Well, I don't think wheat and corn prices are connected. You've got almost 1.9 billion bushels of corn. We've got excess corn in the U.S. We've got excess corn around the world. We just don't need wheat for feed right now, and so corn prices are low. I don't think they're having any impact at all on wheat prices.
Okay, let's sum it up. What should Oklahoma wheat producers be looking for right now?
Well, right now, if they're looking at forward contracting wheat or corn or beans, I think prices are so low that unless you're really worried about the price, I don't think right now it's time to forward contract or buy a put or anything like that. I think just sit and wait and see what happens in the market. If prices go down, that's because we have more wheat to sell, and I think that's the most important thing for farmers is to have a product to sell.
Okay, Kim Anderson, grain marketing specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
Hi, welcome to Shop Stop. Today we got a tip about removing a bushing from a blind hole.
So you have bushing, say it's on the flywheel of your vehicle or whatever that you can't get out, or you've got a bushing that's in a piece of equipment that you can't reach down and get out of. You can't get a puller down in there. So we're going to show you some ways that you can attempt, it doesn't always work, but you can attempt to get that bushing out of there. And so Randy's going to demonstrate some of those.
So one of them might be if you happen to have a tap that large, then you can just tap down into it and then possibly pull it out. Or maybe you might have some kind of device you can hook it with, if possible, and slide hammer it out. Maybe we might resort to cutting a slot in it. You know, we'd take something down in and try to cut that slot down in there. And then once you've cut that, then you can kind of compress it and possibly get it out that way.
But maybe one of the easiest and quickest methods may be to fill this hole with grease, and then you take it, let's say you have another shaft that fits in there tight on the bushing, just as the other shaft did. Fill that up with grease.
How much you want in here? Enough?
A little more. That'll work. We'll get it going there. Then you stick that in there on top of the grease, and then you start hitting that with a hammer. And looky there, it's coming right up the top. It's popping that bushing right out of there. And it pushes your bushing out from that hole.
Basically, the grease is incompressible and pushes it right back out. And it's a lot more fun than grinding on it.
That's right. And it's a lot less frustrating.
That's it this week on Shop Stop. We'll see you next week.
That'll do it for us this week. A reminder, you can find us anytime online at sunup.okstate.edu and also follow us on YouTube and other social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. We'll see you next time at SUNUP.